medias race, some reason in the middle. So now we come to the point where you just go back to the beginning, back to where the starting point is of the Untuning of the Sky, music and English poetry, because we had to go back to the beginning. This is the second chapter, this is like the locus classicus, the main point, the authentic original, but the primary division of music into parts for the Middle Ages. The one that remained canonical even well into the 16th century was the tripartite arrangement of Boethius. His De Institution Musica remained an unquestioned authority on the music of antiquity and on music in general for 1,000 years. We're going back to the authorities now. This is like 1,000 years. After his composition in the early 6th century, according to his scheme, the three branches of music and Boethius made no distinction between practical and speculative were musica mundana, musica humana, and musica instrumentalis. By musica mundana, Boethius meant the harmony of the universe, including the cosmological order of elements, astral bodies, and seasons, whose typical model, as we shall see shortly, was for the ancient and medieval worlds the music of the spheres. By human music, he denoted that which unites the incorporeal activity of the reason with the body. It's funny how human music, musica humana, is denoted as that which unites the incorporeal activity of the reason with the body. The reason with the body. A certain mutual adaptation, as it were, of tempering of high and low sounds into a single consonance.
What's the reason?
The reason. No, this is how you get tempered. Your reason is tempered with the body by getting tuned up. What do you think? I don't know what they mean here. Human music.
Where did you find the term reason before?
Reason? Well, reason. We were talking about how music of the spheres helps your reason and your body and tuning your body. Human music.
Something but reason.
What?
Reason?
What about reason?
Why the word reason?
Oh, well, we're talking about tempering here. This paralleled the cosmic music in causing a blending of the body's elements. The most significant term in Boethius' whole division of musica humana, we're talking about musica, human music.
Okay, I understand all of that, but the reason, where the reason comes?
It's just a word. It is the notion of temperament. When I say reason, maybe we mean temperament. It's like tuning, which was made to apply almost from the beginning of its linguistic history, both to the tuning of strings and to the tempering of various parts of the human soul, thoughts, feelings, the relation of the soul to the body. Is that what we mean by reason?
I think you introduced the word reason.
Well,
as you read, and I wonder how to relate it to everything else. I don't see how.
Well, the word reason has come up into this thing.
How? The first time I heard it.
Reason. Reason is something you have if you're in tune, if you're tempered and you got your tuned strings tuned up.
That's what you say, David.
What do you
What the
mean?
book, I mean, what the book says, how the book introduced the word
Well, it
reason.
said, how did it said? It said, by human music, he denoted, quote, that which unites the incorporeal activity of the reason with the body.
So what he means by reason?
What's he mean by reason?
Activity of the reason with the body.
Thought.
Not necessarily.
Oh.
He could say thought.
Then why don't we just,
explains how he put that word.
why don't we just read on about Musica Humana and find out?
Okay,
Boethius
did
is...
you read that word reason before somewhere that will explain?
Yes, dear, we've encountered reason.
I don't remember.
Later on, we're back to the beginning here. We're going to the locus classicus. Boethius' third category, musica instrumentatalis, involves simply what we would call music itself. But Boethius makes it clear that a true musician is not merely a practical singer, instrumentalist, or maker of songs. He must be one who, on reflection, has taken to himself the science of singing, not by the servitude of work, but by the rule of contemplation. He's supposed to be a contemplative. Maybe there's reason. Thus, Boethius guards against an implicit fragmentation of music into the speculative lore of his first two categories and the practical considerations of his final one. These first two, they were talking about temperament and things. These first two.
With the word reason, they mean the sound?
I don't know, dear. Categories, of course, designate what is, in our sense, not music at all, but part of a more general philosophical scheme, figuratively ascribing an order to nature. The notions of the harmony of the universe and the tempering of warring elements in the human organism are both metaphors that come from important areas of Greek thought. Behind even Boethius' division, however, lies the complex and imposing body of both speculative and practical theory of the classical world. In the previous chapter, it is suggested that a convenient division of this body would separate three areas of speculation. A brief consideration of these, taken one at a time, may make clear some matters to be discussed further on. We are discussing further on now harmony. We are coming to these Greek concepts, the Greek word harmonia. We're back to the Greek roots here. The Greek word harmonia, meaning originally of fitting or joining together of discrete and disparate entities, had a musical meaning that differs so subtly from the modern musical use of the word harmony that many translations of classical text, overlooking the difference, give the derived word for the original. To any reader with a knowledge of music and its history, however, such a translation is not only wrong but fundamentally misleading. In the first place, our whole modern sense of harmony and harmonious is conditioned by our experience of polyphonic music, so that harmony cannot help but suggest the ordering of simultaneously sounding musical tones taken together as a package or gestalt. That's not what they meant by harmony. They mean harmony within the scale. In the abstract sense, harmonious tends to carry over this suggestion of a chord and events to which it is applied as so designated because they consist of discrete and dissimilar sub-entities which lose their individuality to the degree of being perfectly blended into the whole. Greek musical theory devoted little discussion to what we would call today harmonics. The Greek harmoniae were scales or melodic schemata in general. Harmonia is to be thought of as referring to melody. Their harmony is like melody. That's like the one, the melody is not a chord. rather.
Harmony can the harmony no the melody
Harmony
can be
within.
harmonious and cannot be harmonious. Harmony is something that a melody can have or can't have. Harmony can be without the melody also.
Well, there you go. That's the Greek theory. Rather than to vertical tonal aggregates, in the still more extended senses of the Platonic metaphors or the ordering of the cosmos and the soul of man, the notion of a harmonious blending of opposite qualities is extremely easy for the modern reader and has been for readers actually since about the 10th century. To misinterpret a musical chord can be thought of as blending and marrying dissimilar or even contemporary elements. The notion is rather like that of E pluribus unum, but even a little exploration of the extant musical and musical theory, as we shall so distinguish between the writings of Aristoxenus and Aristides Quintilianus and Pseudo Plutarch, Ptolemy, and etc. on the one hand, and the philosophical speculations of Plato in the Republic, Laws, the Timaeus, for example, or Aristotle in the Politics, on the other hand, will lead us to avoid such an error. We're trying to avoid the error right now.
Whatever.
For the Greek notion of harmony, we're trying to avoid the error. We shall rather seek to understand an idea of relative proportion of an order that consists in the ratios of quantities to each other rather than of a notion of blending that depends on the simultaneous effects of separate or even warring elements. It is almost as if our modern architectural term scale, referring to relative sizes of portions of buildings, were to be interpreted as having derived from a purely musical sense. The disposition of musical intervals considered merely as distances between successive scalar steps and leaps rather than between simultaneously sounding. They're just talking about the distance between notes. In terms of ordered ratios, it's a very Pythagorean.
Harmony is beyond that. That's the basic.
They're talking about note
basic.
separation.
You have to have those. It's like an order that's supposed
Order
to
ratios.
exist in a way. It's the basis of harmony, but we can still play beyond that. It's in art also. You have harmony in painting, architecture.
Order ratios would then be seen as.
There is harmony in a school, in a city. Somehow, the opposite you say is that it's when people started to react to something and there is a kind of a beginning of a war in a way, dissatisfaction and so. But when everything goes with satisfaction, with a sense of well-being, that we can call harmony.
Order ratios would then be seen as applicable to architecture or even to all smoothly functioning systems. Scale would mean proportion and thus just disposition of the relative role of parts in a whole. This would be close to the Greek notion of harmonia. We were reading about Greek harmonia and the true meaning, and we went back to the beginning and reading the Untuning of the Sky.